Money mindset is all right. We are live. Oh my gosh. Hello. And as we are coming in, you guys, I am going to go ahead and get us started on a watch party here. Let me make sure I turn this down. So as you guys come in, say, hey, let us know where you're coming from. I am really excited to have this conversation about money tonight because something that I discussed with someone earlier, I don't feel like women get the same money messaging as men get. So I'm really excited to have this powerhouse panel of women on talking about the mindset and energetics behind money. And also at the end, we're going to discuss a little bit about how you can start rewriting your money story so that you can have a more abundant relationship with money, how you can start looking at it in a more positive, abundant, and productive manner versus maybe seeing it as something that you are just not accessible to like somebody else in the world. So I'm going to start this watch party again. As you guys come in and say, hey, I'm going to be watching out for the comments. Make sure you like and share this conversation so I can continue getting more eyes on these panels, especially as we get close to the TV show going live in October. Yay. I want to make sure that all these amazing women are being put out there. Their voices, their messages are being brought to everybody. And you guys are also getting to join in on this conversation. So let me start this watch party. If you catch us on the replay, hashtag replay, and let us know what your thoughts were. And as always, please feel free to join in. This is your conversation as well. Ask questions, leave comments, and give us your honest opinions. And we will get started. And all right, come join us. All right, you guys. So hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Roundtable, you guys. This is the table where I invite some amazing people to pull a seat up to the table and join together in creating epic conversation. At TUF Woman, I believe that all people have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered to live a life that sets their soul on fire. I also believe that by one person showing up in their power, we give other people permission to step into their own power as well, thus giving us the opportunity to rise together. It is through this joint rising that we move ourselves and humanity forward to a more beautiful way of living and being. So you guys, pull up a seat with us, tune in, and join this conversation as we create epic conversations that we move that move and remind everyone of how truly powerful they all are within. Yay! Hello, everybody. Say hey as you guys come in. I see we have people on. So what I'm going to do is allow these amazing ladies to introduce themselves. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you guys do, who you serve, and then we're going to get started with this. So Sarah, if you want to start first, let us know who you are, Quantum Shaman.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm delighted to be here with y'all tonight. My name is Sarah Whalen, and I am a coach and healer. I do intuitive energy healing, shamanic practicing, shamanic healing. Do a lot of work around mindset with my clients, and I am an MBIT master coach. And MBIT stands for multiple brain integration techniques. And that's all about getting your head, your heart, and your gut aligned so that you can make decisions from your highest place of wisdom, all internal wisdom. It's a combination of ancient wisdom meets modern neuroscience. So everything that I do is based in science, but it also has these ancient roots to it. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
In a nutshell. So that's that's a little bit. All right, Margo, tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm really excited to share how I can help everyone about their money stories and fears. I own my own outsourced accounting and CFO firm. I'm doing it for over a decade now. We are a multiple award winning company for the past 4 years now. We help business owners survive their money strategies and their money systems. And I say that because nobody wants to take care of their books. Nobody wants to look at their money. And we find a fun way to dip into it with them and make it fun and sexy and exciting. We help clients put more money into their pockets and really create a business that can scale and that it serves them. I do outsourced accounting along with a lot of speaking and coaching to help my clients through their work. And I'll tell you, my company started simply just because I had my own money fears and I want to be able to help people with just that. And that's what I do.
I love it. Awesome. All right. And Michelle, if you will let us know a little bit about yourself as well.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I am a intuitive virtual assistant and I specialize in digital marketing and web design. So a lot of my digital marketing experience comes from learning hands-on attractive marketing and just putting the skills and knowledge to the test and just doing everything myself. Back in December, I was able as a newbie to grow my own business. So with that, I started to help other people and help other people grow and start their own momentum, which eventually made me actually start helping others do the same thing that I'm doing now. So I help business and mindset coaches tackle their behind the scenes tasks so they can live a fulfilling and productive and stress-free life while scaling a thriving online business.
I love it. Such a plethora of skills and backgrounds here. So it's always fun to bring all the perspectives. So I think where I want to start with this is let's talk about the way that we grow up. I think it's really important for people to understand that we grow up with a lot of stories, and that applies to everything, but especially money. One of the things that I recognize coming into this, being a woman, we're not taught the same language or the same message as men per se, but really as women, we're not taught about money. I remember someone actually asking that question is like growing up, do you remember anybody ever teaching you about like who taught you how to budget? And I go, oh my God, like nobody. Nobody taught me how to budget. Who taught you how to save? Who taught you how to invest? And it's like nobody. And then you get older and you realize you see a lot of men investing in stuff and you realize they were taught these conversations and we weren't. So my first question for you ladies is going to be what were you taught about money growing up, whether it's especially as a woman or just growing up? What were you taught and how did that affect you as you got older? So Sarah, okay, let's let Margo start and then Sarah and then Michelle. Yeah, Margo, if you want to start.
Oh, I want to jump in there. So I definitely was taught different as a woman growing up. In my community, in my religion, as in the Jewish community, you're taught as almost like a subservient or like subordinate to the male, and you get used to, or like you think that just how that is, that the men make the money and that you just listen, or that they're making the more money and then that's okay. Throughout growing up for me, money was hard. My parents, they worked really, really hard. My dad worked at night and my mom worked during the day. My dad would take the keys from my mom when she finished her job so that they didn't have to pay for another car, so that he can go to work at night and he stayed home with me. And I share that story because as a couple, they were just so in sync, but yet it creates so much strain because, you can imagine a couple, one working at night and during the day, the relationship would just take a strain. And as a child growing up, I look back at it and all I just kept seeing was the back and forth of, working hard and being check to check. And it's almost like it's like scrounging, where it's like if you left a little bit of food on the table, not to throw it out, but it was like that there may not be more the next day. So it was a very big scarcity mindset. And, now I look at it today where it's like, you're taught abundance, you're taught, to be, for gratitude and all these different things. And, it's like you didn't think that you could get another job or you can get another client and you can make money work. But just as Ashley said, the energeticness behind money is so important. I'll tell you like a quick story. A client of mine, he had a problem outsourcing to us, but he was like, Margo, I want to work with you. And I said to him, okay. So I said to him, I don't think you need to make more money. I think you just need strategies and systems. He thought I was bonkers. He went off the charts and he didn't hire me that day. But he did call me back and he was like, "Are you that girl that told me I don't need to make more money?" Because he's a guy. So he had that constant pressure. And he let me know into the story, when he was a kid, that his father would just pound on him that it was his job and his responsibility to take care of his wife, his kids, and all the extendedness of how that was really his mission. And he's a very successful business owner. And really, all he needed was strategies and systems. And with that, we were able to save him like over 30%, where he was able to put more money in his pocket. So once you take out the stress and the overwhelm, there's so much more that you have to gain. And I know for me, I went into that in my life thinking that money was so hard to make. And it's like, if I made $700, thinking like, when's my next dollar going to come? And once you let that go and you realize that things do work out, it's a whole different perspective. Money ends up flowing in. And then you realize, like, when you're taught from when you were a kid, like, to just sit there with that strain, it's not, it's not really true. It's your experience of the money. So
I like that. Yes, I agree with that. I think one of my biggest stories growing up is that there's just never enough of it. I think my biggest thing when someone asks me like, what was your, if you sit down and write down your money stories, what was your biggest money stories? And there's never enough. And that going into adulthood, it was always that I couldn't even make it paycheck to paycheck. It was like paycheck, and then my favorite one was always like, it's gone before I get it. Like, it's gone as soon, I can't even tell you how many times I've heard that. As soon as I get it, it's gone. Like, there's my paycheck and I'm just gonna wave bye to it. There it goes. So I remember that, and when I looked at that, I was like, oh my God, that's a huge thing to understand, because I began to see how that was the undercurrent to everything that I did. I was already believing that as soon as I got it, it was going to be gone. And what that correlated to me was any money I got, as soon as I got it, it was going to be gone. I was not going to get any more. And even just the paycheck to paycheck cycle. So Sarah, I'd like to know what your money stories were. And this should be interesting, because I feel like you always have some very interesting stories. What did your money stories and money messages look like growing up?
Yeah. I'm going to say mine was quite a paradox. I'm a child of the 60s. My father was a very successful business owner and executive, and my mom ran the household. She never had to work. So he had her on a budget. So she had her checking account, and he would just give her money to operate everything. And so on the one hand, I grew up in this life of great privilege. We traveled a lot. Everything was first class. We had all, beautiful big house, all this stuff. But my mom was always broke. Be like, so if I ever needed anything, I'd have to go to my mom and ask her for it. And she would always be like, I don't have any money. And she didn't have access to it because my dad controlled the main funnel of the money. And so that was my kind of visceral experience of it. And meanwhile, I had my dad, who was always telling me, Sarah, no matter what, just make sure you can land on your own 2 feet. Do whatever you want in your life. Just make sure you can take care of yourself. So for me, it was like, all right, I didn't like having this subservient female, mother figure that had to answer to my dad for everything. And like, literally, my mom never saw a tax return. He would like cover everything up and she had to sign it. She had no idea what the money situation was. And so for me, I'm just like, that's bullshit. I'm not going to grow up that way. So like within days of turning 16 years old, I had my first job and I had my own money. And like my whole mission was to never ask my parents for money, because there was like so much cognitive dissonance around it. Like, my dad's rich, my mom's poor, they're married. What, like, how does that work? So I was on my own journey of really cultivating what I consider to be a very good relationship with money. So it's like my understanding of just the energy of money and how it flows. Sometimes it pools and puddles and gets very deep, and then sometimes the water goes down and it's flowing out. So to me, it's always in motion. And that's, decades of cultivating it. And just a little sidebar, My first career was in public accounting. And then after spending 8 years in that field, I went into private and I was the controller and CFO of a $50 million sales company. So I had like all of this stuff going on around money. And I really believe that it was just for me to learn all of these lessons myself. So.
And look what I just learned about you today, right? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It
All
was a
right,
long
Michelle.
time ago.
Tell us a little bit about the stories and messages that you grew up with money.
So growing up with money, it was a lot of my parents working full time. So I never really got to see them. It was very much you have to work really hard in order to get your money. And at the same time, even though they worked really hard, we really couldn't afford to like go on nice vacations and like for me to get like nice brand clothes like people in school would. And so money to me had this like meaning that I had to work hard in order for me to get the things that I desired. But at the same time, everything that I was trying to do in order to get to my goals wasn't working. Like there was always something missing. And I noticed it was the same thing with my parents. Like every time they would be, complaining about the bills, we can't pay this, or we have to see how we're going to make it this month. And I see it kind of like, I see how it started to reflect in my adulthood when I started growing up, like after probably like 17 to 19. And now after really looking into my money mindset and, treading through the whole lifestyle of not really being able to afford much and being that person that wasn't able to like go to the parties and stuff when I was younger, I realized that it was just the way that we were taught to think. Because when I was younger, it would be a lot of, okay, well, we can't get that because we can't afford it. It wasn't, okay, well, how do we get to a point where we can afford it? But now that I'm older and I've gone through all of the, steps to get all of that cleared out, I understand that having changed those mindsets, I was able to start attracting more money. So that's kind of where I'm at. It was a lot of, it wasn't even anywhere near like the subservient side. It was more like my mom was always like, okay, well, you have to work hard and you want to have a job and, go to school so that you never have to depend on a man for money. That was always her thing. Never depend on a man for money. So when it got to me being older, it was always about being independent, not having to ask my parents or anybody for anything ever. So a lot of that also plays into like the pride that I was kind of dealing with last year when I was having my own money issues and unable to really ask for the help when I needed to. So I feel like a lot of that plays,
I was going to say, I agree. And actually, one of the things that I found out that was a big current, because I remember growing up and I came from two separate. So I guess this is where I tell you a little bit about my money story. So I came from two completely different ways of living. My parents were divorced at a really young age, and my mom was a single mom, and she dated, and she's been married a couple times. My dad remarried one time, was with the same person, and my stepmom was a stay-at-home mom, and he worked. He did all the working, and she took care of all the bills, and she handled all the finances. But there was still never like conversations around money. So like with my mom, it was there's never enough. You have to work like 60 to 80 hours a week to even make a living. And so there was that dynamic. And then with my dad and my stepmom, we had money and I knew that, but there was never the discussion around money and bills and what does it take to run a household and all these things. So there was two pieces to it. And one of the things that I always remember getting told was always make sure you can support yourself, never depend on another person. And it wasn't even just that was consciously spoken to me, but subconsciously, I watched the women in my family who were dependent upon men to financially support them, always being controlled. And actually, Sarah, I think you're one of the people who helped me recognize that I used to have a massive aversion to men doing that because I was really resistant to receiving from the masculine. I was really resistant because all I saw growing up was that equated to control over me as a woman. to me, that was that, that equated to somebody being able to run my life, and me being prideful and a Leo and everything else. I was like, excuse my blunt term here, but fuck that. I don't think so. So I'm going to do whatever I can, and that's never going to happen. So I think this is a really good turn in to start talking about the energetics, because when we are coming from that space, the thing that I have learned energetic wise is we really start blocking our ability to receive those energies, because just like anything else, money has a masculine and a feminine quality to it, just like anything. So I'd really like to start diving a little bit into the energetic and the mindset behind money as a whole. So which of you ladies would like to start off with this? And let's discuss the energetics and what your understandings are individually of the energetics behind money. Because what I really want to focus on here is how do we start helping people reframe their mindset around money. So I think understanding the energetics behind and the frequency of money is a fantastic place to start. So Michelle, I'll let you start. Please tell us a little bit about your understanding about the energetics of money and how this can correlate to helping someone begin transition or transferring their mindset over to a more abundant, receptive mindset.
So from my understanding, money is attracted in vibration. So money has a high vibration, and in order for you to attain it, you have to match that vibration. So if you're one of those people that are negative and complaining about not having money, and you're focusing on not having money, then you're going to continue to not have money. But if you focus on the feeling of having the money, that satisfaction and the victorious feeling of attaining money, then you're able to attract more of it. So a really cool thing is that I started doing this back in December, and I started to tell myself little positive affirmations like I am a money magnet, or money comes to me abundantly and everything that I spend comes back to me. So I started after a while noticing pennies on the ground. I mean, I'm sure that, every day I would probably pass by pennies, but it wasn't until I started realizing that money is money is money, and a penny has the same value as any other type of money, that I started attracting and seeing more money. So that was probably within the first or second month of me starting my whole online journey. And within, I want to say 60 days, I was able to manifest my first client, and I, earned over $500. So that's just a little example of how I was able to manifest and attract money by changing a little small habit of mine, which was always complaining or saying that I didn't have money, or worry about spending money when I had to spend money.
And I was going to say that was a big one for me, is worrying. I would sit there. I never realized how powerful that was. I would sit there and count every single dime, and I'd be like, oh my God, can I spend this? Can I spend this? And now I'm just I'm conscious of what I'm spending, because I want to be responsible about my spending, because that's a whole other thing. Are you just allowing money to just flow out and you don't know what the hell's going on? That was one I did for a while. It's I had all this money going out. I'm like, what the fuck is all my money? And I sat down and going, oh, there it is. Oh, no wonder I'm telling it goodbye. Oh, there it is. All right, Sarah, I'd like your thoughts on some of the things that you've learned about money mindset and reframing your money mindset.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Some of the things that you said, Ashley, kind of talking about the masculine of energy of the money versus the patriarchy of money, right? So those are completely different. When we're talking about the masculine, we're talking about the divine masculine that exists within all of us. So, and that divine masculine is the one who can, accumulate massive amounts of money or whatever the masculine wants to bring in. But it's the feminine side that has to be receptive. And there's a degree of respect that's necessary. Like Michelle said, you didn't used to pick up pennies. It's yeah. So money actually doesn't have any value. It's just an agreed upon system that we created. Dollars used to be backed by by the gold standard by the Federal Reserve, and it's not anymore. It's literally just paper. So if you turned up on some deserted island somewhere where they only barter and all you had was currency, it would be of like little to no value of them unless they were like trying to start a fire, right? But we have all agreed that our money that we shell out has value, and we continue to support that system. And that's all very masculine energy, like, right, to really just maintain the support of the system that we've just all agreed to. So I don't know, when I think about those kinds of things, like for me, it was really all about honoring the receipt of money coming to me and being grateful. Like the more I expand and lean into my gratitude practice, the more it easily flows to me. You know, and when I'm walking, you know, from wherever it is to anywhere, it's always, you know, money flows to me easily. It flows, affirming and reaffirming those, you know, that actual fact, right, to make it real. And the art and trick of truly manifesting is to say it as if it already exists in the now, not something that you're hoping for. Because Ashley, you know this well from me, if you don't tell the universe when you want it, the universe exists in infinity. And it's just going to be like, okay, we'll just put that on the back burner. She's in no rush, whatever. We'll just put that one back here. But unless you say, you know, money flows to me abundantly now, and I am grateful for it, and then the universe is just like, oh, dude, she wants it right now. Okay, let's get on that, and then, you know, start the flow of energy toward me, the recipient. It's really like simple little shifts like that, being very conscious of your languaging around manifesting, because that, again, is just an exchange of energy between your energy body and the energy of the universe. You're just trying to align and then entangle the similar frequency. I'm sure that's just what you were looking for, right?
It is actually, and I was going to say one of my newest mantras, because it's such a truth, but it also makes me very conscious of what I am saying behind it. So mine is, I get what I want, because I get what I want. Get what I want. Like, that's a no-brainer. I get what I want. So, but then it makes me conscious. It's like, okay, well, what are you asking for at the same time? So if you get what you want, what do you want, and what are you asking for? And I had a conversation around this the other day. One of the things that I recognize as women, and this is coming out of, just being very successful in job interviews and having interviewed people and seeing the difference between interviewing men versus interviewing women, as well as like what men apply for versus what women. So men will have like half the qualifications, like, you know what, I'm like 80 to 90% qualified, I'm going to go for this. And a woman, if she does not have like all 10 qualifications, she's like, you know what, I don't want to do that. And for me, whenever I was like going into an interview, it was always like, they're going to hire me because they want me to work for them. Like, I knew that right off the bat. Like, I was like, you know what, they're going to hire me because they want me to work for them. And one of the things that I recognized was, we as women are not taught to ask. We're not taught to ask for what we want. We are not taught that it's okay to want to be powerful, to want to have a lot of money. We're taught that, and this goes back to the story thing, we're taught that it's selfish to want a lot of money and to be powerful in that aspect. And so one of the things that I've learned to be okay with in switching my money mindset is, it's okay for me to want to be rich and powerful. It's not evil to have money, because I know that having more money means I can help more people, I can create more impact. So that was a huge shift for me. And then going to the penny thing, Michelle, actually, I do that too. And I've recognized that since I've been more grateful for what's coming in, and even just like being grateful for paying bills, that was huge. Someone's like, be thankful for paying bills. Like, be thankful you have the money to support paying the bills on time. I didn't recognize how much late fees I was accruing until I started paying my bills on time and early. And I was like, oh my God, look at all this extra money. And it's like, yeah, because you're saving a couple $100 in late fees a month. But I'll be at places and people will be walking with me and no shit, I'll be like, oh, it's a penny. And I'll get really excited. Oh my God, look at it. And they're like, yeah, it's a penny. I'm like, look, it's a penny. I have a penny richer now. I'll never be broke. And they're like, dude, it's a penny. I'm like, yeah, and that's the difference between me and you. And then, then they just keep walking away from me. But regardless, I'm just, I want to say that one of the biggest shifts outside of understanding that it was getting clear on what it is that I wanted and how to ask for it, but it was also just being really thankful for, again, like you said, Sarah, the money going out, the money going in, and anything that came my way. Like I even tell my kids now, like my son will pick up change all the time. They're like, oh, look, you're never broke. You got 25 cents. You just never know when you'll need 25 cents.
My grandma, when I was a little girl, my grandma gave me a little change purse and there was a penny in it. And she opened it and showed it to me. And she said, if you never spend this, you'll never be broke. And I was like, cool. So I've never been broke.
See? All right, Margo, so tell us a little bit about your understanding of money mindset, because you said that's really the reason why you got started in what you did. So tell us a little bit about the things you've learned in regards to like money mindset. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about just getting intimate with money. So I'd love your thoughts on that and how people can start switching that mindset and getting more intimate with their money.
Okay. So I love how you all talked about the penny, because it's the way you receive the penny. It's the same way you're going to receive $1. And it takes a lot to really understand that, because it's the energy that you're receiving it. So it's like, think about how you pay for something. Are you angry about it or are you happy? So I'll give you a quick example. A few days ago, or maybe it was about a week ago, I bought a program and I was more upset with myself that I wasn't further along in the program. So I was a little bit complaining. I was probably a lot complaining about what I spent. And my teammates were reminding me of all the value and the different things. And I realized, the energy that I'm having around the program, I'm like, it just dawned on me, is that how people are going to think of my program? And that's the type of people that were going to come to me. So it's kind of like, how are you taking care of things? Is that the energy that's coming back to you? It's kind of like what you were saying before about, it's that the universe is going to give back to you what you ask for. So the gratitude is the biggest. It's the biggest thing. Like I personally do it like actually 3-4 times a day, just to reflect on my day in terms of my personal life and my business life, because it helps me also like reset and refocus. And once I do that and I realize where my strengths are, and that's where my energy is going to go. Ashley, you also talked about this, about being responsible. When I was growing up, my parents, I didn't have any of this, where my parents are saying like, oh, you have to be on your own. I didn't have any of those like directions. I had to figure that all out myself, which is fine. But, we're automatically bashing ourselves and saying we're not responsible because we want to spend money and do all of these things. So I give this example. I give myself a budget each week to go shopping. I'm sure all of you women out there love to go shopping. My big thing used to be pocketbooks. So I used to spend ridiculous amounts of money on pocketbooks. Then it was shoes. And now my kids will laugh and they'll say it's backpacks. I get all these different things. So I gave myself a budget. Now, when I look back at my budget, I'm not upset that that money goes out. But you just have to notice the thoughts that come in and say to yourself, like, why am I bashing myself for something that I love? So this is a pure example of like getting intimate with the money, of like, why does it upset me to spend money on myself when it's something that I worked hard for? And you're really getting deep into that. It's getting aligned with your breath and really being calm about that and getting into the body. It's a big difference of the mind versus the heart, of where you are with that. Like if your breath is like all hyped and jacked up, you're just like from that fear and anxiety place, versus like really getting cozy with the money and being like, I'm going to step into that. Usually people use money as the guard to leave it right there and like, oh, I can't afford that, and using that as the guard instead of like stepping over it or jumping down that part and saying like, I got this. And the other thing I actually took notes because everyone had such great things to say. It's just so true that we're taught not to ask for money. I know when I began my business on my own, a whole boatload of reasons why I wasn't making sales is because I wasn't asking for the sale. I would wait for them to approach me. That was a quick lesson. Once I learned that, was a whole different thing. And the feminine, then the last part, because I don't know if I'm going on a tangent here, the feminine way of doing it versus man, it's so true. We just automatically think like we can't make a lot of money or we can't ask for a lot, or like we should just feel powerless that we can't make a lot of money. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to say I make a lot of money or a little money because everything is different to everyone. But, once you're receptive to the fact that you're in control of your own life, and it comes, the universe does send it to you. I'll just leave this off with another example. I signed on a new client today, and I was really just thinking about this in my morning meditation of how cool this type of client would be. I released that money fear of like, of there was like this extra energy around when clients pay me because sometimes it gets stacked of services and I would be like, oh no, it's a lot for them. Once I released that, when there was a whole gratitude for that stack of the trust that came in, there was so much more to gain for myself and of course to serve the clients. So, the first step with getting intimate, if you see something that is really bugging you out, and I can use all sorts of colorful words, I just say stop and just tell yourself stop, stop, and just align with your breath and just go in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And out through your mouth is like taking out what doesn't serve you, and it's just releasing that so that you can get back to present and really get intimate for where you want to be.
I like that. All right, so here's a fun question, and I've got a couple fun questions here. I was like looking up really cool questions for this. So one of the questions is like one of the questions actually I just got from this was, how do women start releasing their fears around worth in regards to money? Because from my understanding, one of the biggest things is we don't feel worthy. Again, it goes back to that power thing. I think it all connects, obviously, but we don't feel worthy of receiving the money. We don't feel like we're worthy of receiving the clients or having the business or being the powerful woman or any of that. So I'd like your ladies' thoughts because I think all of you have probably dealt with that with your clients. I know that comes up a lot for me. It's just especially when it plays into the imposter syndrome with the people that I've worked with. They don't feel worthy of running this business. They don't feel worthy of the title or whatever it is that they're dealing with at the moment, and that directly affects the finances that they bring in. So they don't feel worthy of asking for the sale. They don't feel worthy of receiving that money that they're worth and being paid what they're worth. I can't tell you how many people I have met that are just like, and I'm not against helping because I've done that. I've definitely helped people, who maybe can't afford it and just need help because I've been there myself. So I get it. And I believe in that. But at the same time, I see so many people just like, well, I just want to build up my portfolio. And they've been doing stuff for free for like way longer than they need to. And it's like, honey, you got to live. Like you can't help people if you can't pay your bills. So I'd like to know your ladies' thoughts on how do women start releasing that fear of not being worthy enough so that they can start asking for the sale or asking for what they're worth and feeling like they're worthy of having that lifestyle that they want. So Sarah, I'm going to start with you first.
All right. It's interesting. What popped up for me is actually what is probably my origin story around the connection between money and worth. And that, I'm going to say, is every time I asked my mom for something and she told me no, that I couldn't have it or she couldn't afford it, to me, that was a message that I wasn't worth her money. And I'm just realizing that now. But so a lot of the shifting that I did, I actually just lost my train of thought. Left the station. That thought is completely gone. Sorry. I got all tied up in my origin story there. But I learned so much about just I'm just gonna say, let maybe come back to me. Like my
All right,
thoughts are
Michelle.
all in a spiral right now.
It's okay, because Michelle was on the one panel, I think, where I completely just brain farted in the middle of a question. I'm like, I have no idea what I was just asking, but you know what? It's gonna be okay. And just I'm gonna side note before I go to Michelle, you guys, I like this part, and this is why when we go to the TV show, you're not gonna see a lot of editing, because I want people to see this. I think this is really important to understand that these things happen, and that's okay. And you just keep rolling with it. So, you know, I want everybody to get okay with imperfect action. Like if I'm ever an example of something, like let it be imperfect action and just going with it no matter what happens. Okay. So Michelle, I like your thoughts on how do women start releasing the fear behind not being worthy enough to receive the things that they are definitely worthy of receiving.
Okay, so for me, it was just a lot of meditation and personal work. I feel like I didn't actually start feeling like I was worthy of receiving a payment for my services until I realized that there are people out there who actually need my services. I feel like as a techie VA, a lot of times I'm so techie that I feel like the things that I do aren't as techie. So when I sit down and I'm doing them, I'm like, like this is so easy. Why would anybody even bother paying me to do this? But then when I'm actually like sitting there and doing it, or like teaching somebody else how to do it, they're like, no, like just you do it. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, it got me to a point where I realized, okay, so even though there are these experts that know more than me, et cetera, there are people who don't know as much as me and who would benefit from my services rather than spending thousands and hundreds of dollars on a professional expert or whatever that's been in it for 50 years or whatever. So I don't know. For me personally, I was an admin and a telecommunications dispatcher for emergency alarms for over 7 years. And I have a lot of like computer and customer service background. So on my free time, I would just have a lot of like web design projects that I would do personally, which eventually got to me learning all these skills. But it got to the point where I was just like, well, I don't think that I can really ask somebody for money. And honestly, now that I think about it, I would always not feel comfortable asking my parents for the things that I wanted to. Like if it was like, I don't know, if I wanted pizza on a Friday night, or if I wanted a new blouse and I didn't have money for it, I would not for anything in the world ask my parents for that money, just because I felt some sort of like internal guilt, or I don't even know. I just felt guilty for asking for money. But after, you know, working with people that are like business coaches and mindset coaches, and learning that I am worthy of money and I need to live like everybody else, just like Ashley was saying, I just learned to accept that I do deserve money, because at the end of the day, just how these actors and actresses and these big companies charge money and they make money and they have no like guilt in the world to accept that money, then why would I sleep with any type of guilt? You know what I mean? Like, and I know what is in my heart. I know what I want that money for. I want to pay it forward. I want to give back to my family. I want to give back to the community. I want to save homeless people and, you know, do so many things. So the fact that I want money, it stopped making me feel guilty, because I understand that I don't want money for selfish reasons. I guess you can say. So that's how I got over it.
I was like, unmute yourself, Ashley, unmute yourself. I love that. And kind of piggybacking on that, one of the biggest things that was really eye-opening for me, and it actually had to do with money, is that I always like consciously would say, I want a man that takes care of me, but then subconsciously be like, I don't need your help. I have my own money. Okay. And I'd be like, well, why do I keep getting dudes that like want to take my money? Like legitimately, I would always be with dudes that wanted to take my money and didn't want to take care of me. I'm like, but I want to do this taking care of me. Like I keep saying that, but subconsciously I'd be like, no, I can take care of myself. I don't need your help. I can, it's like I can do it myself. Leave me alone. And guess what? They would allow me to do it my damn self, and they wouldn't leave me alone, but they'd be like, you know what? While you're doing it for yourself, why don't you go ahead and do it for me too, and just pay for it while you're at it? And it's like, dude. So that was something that was huge, and I love that you talked about the not being able to ask, because that was really, really big for me as well. Is just learning again how to be open to asking for that and receiving, because what you don't ask for, you're not going to receive. Like that's something I've been huge about. It's like what you don't ask for, you don't get. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I think that in regards to sales, the biggest thing that I got okay with was being told no. All right. It's not, I think one of the things that was big for me is I was internalizing the no on an emotional level, as if they had personally, like they were saying no to me as a person. And it's like, no, they just don't need your service right now, or it's just not a good time for them. Like they're not saying no to you. So I released that whole personal like internalization of the no, and I got really okay with it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? We'll just go to the next. It'll be all right, and just keep trucking along. And that was huge for me, because in regards to sales, I hated being salesy, right? I was like, and it was really just because I didn't want people telling me no, because I felt rejected on a really internal level. And I was like, you know what? They're not rejecting me. I know what it's like when I'm not aligned with something, or it's just not time for it, and I want to say no to something. And if I'm okay with that, then I should be okay with people saying no to me when it's the same thing for them. So, Margo, I would like your thoughts on how can women start releasing the fear of not being worthy enough to receive? And then I have one more question for you ladies, and this is like going to be my favorite one.
So I think the way I did it was similar to what Michelle said. It was the internal work of the meditation. Like my few favorite things are meditation, journaling, and yoga. It was like the complete alignment. So I actually just did a live on this yesterday, where being the impact of the worth, where it begins is the peace within you that you are worth it. I personally don't feel like anything on the external should be the result. It's more so that you feel that inside, that you're beautiful, your being, your joy, your compassion, your love, like all of that of the being and being happy is really where that comes from. Because when you're in a good place, anything could happen. The energy just flows to you. So for me, I think it's like, I suggest to all the beautiful ladies out there is figure out what aligns you, and then that's going to overtake and supersede the growth, the impact, and feeling like that you're worthy, and that you can step in that full way. It's interesting about the no, that what everybody is saying, being okay with the no in sales. I know for me, when people used to say no to me, I used to take it so personal and so harsh. And I didn't know the difference of taking it personal versus the business aspect. Once I separated that, it was a big thing that helped me make more money. It also helped me serve better what was able to serve the client versus what was my own stuff inside, to take care of. This is where the peace within, for me, I suggest that's really the important part.
I love it. And I'm gonna let Sarah say her thought, because she got it back and I don't want her to forget it.
So glad it came back. Oh my goodness. Right. So some of the most powerful breakthroughs that I've had with working with clients to help them make this money mindset shift around their value when they're like trying to figure out how to price a package or an offering of any sort. Because it's like, I'm going to say 90% of women that I've worked with on trying to, come up with the price for it, they automatically devalue what they're going to offer because they're afraid that nobody's going to buy it. And so whenever that comes up, I like to ask them, like, what would you be willing to pay for this? Like, if you were making this investment in yourself, looking at somebody else's package or offering, what would you be willing to pay for it? And I swear it usually goes from like, they were thinking, oh, I'll do like $1,500. And then all of a sudden they're like $4,500. That's what it would be worth to me. I'm like, well, then how are you worth any less than that? And it just like flips it on the head for them and allows them to be like, yeah, why, and it's just all fear-based that they don't want to put that big number out there because of, fear of rejection or, nobody buying into it. So instead of devaluing yourself and trying to guess what you can get a lot of people to pay, value it based on, all of your knowledge, your wisdom, all of the effort and energy that you've put into it, because it's tremendous, and just put it out there. And it's really helped. And this has always been with women that I've helped them make this shift. But yeah, so, and the other thing that has to do with the value of myself in my own life and my relationship with money. In my early 30s, when I got divorced, I accumulated a lot of credit card debt, and it seemed like I was going to be underwater on that for a really long time, like forever. And so until I sat down with it one day and I was like, list it all out, look at it, make it real, make it concrete on paper or on a spreadsheet or whatever. And like, don't shy away from it, pay attention to it, and then make a plan. So I made a plan to, within 24 months, have all of it paid off. And then once it was paid off, to never carry a balance again. Like, I use credit cards as a tool they're intended for, but I pay it off every month, because my pact that I made with myself was, if I spend it on a credit card, I then need to experience what it feels like as the money is going out. Like, I can't trick myself into thinking, oh, I'm just going to buy all this stuff, it's on a credit card, and ignore the fact that it requires that energetic exchange going out. So that was a promise I made to myself in my early 30s, to, cash is king, never carry a credit card balance. So those things worked on shifting my relationship to money and my sense of value around it. So.
I love it. And this gentleman says, Michelle, you got a marriage proposal in the comments from YouTube. Hey. Hey, thanks. All right. All right. So this is a really cool question, because I was like, what questions, what are some cool questions to ask around money mindset, and some funny ones. So and I think this is a really good way to end this conversation since we're last moment. So if you got $1 million right now, because they said there was a couple pieces of this question, but if you sat down and wrote down like what you would do with it, would you tell people about it, this really tells you a lot about where you're at in your relationship with money right now. So if you got $1 million right now, how would you spend that? And I will leave this open to whomever wants to go first.
I'll jump in. So I think the first thing that I would do is, off the top, I would donate money to a cause. You both have shared about your divorces, and I'm recently divorced too. I would probably share to a cause that help women in divorce. I know when mine began, there was a lot of messy and scary scenarios that I was in, that part of my mission going forward is to help other women not be in that scenario. So that's a big thing that I would do, is I would take money and see how I can help women that they have a safe place to go. I know when I found my safe place to go, it was a huge thing. You can find a safe place to go, but sometimes it may not, it still may not work for you. But that's a big thing that I would personally love to do. After that, I would probably put away from my kids. More so, and this is going to sound a little sexist, but I don't know. I would probably put a little bit more away from my daughter than my son, just because of the impact and the issues of a woman, that I would want her to have the edge, and not have what I went through, and have that leg up in life. And I say that leg up because as a woman, you want that leg up. And I personally actually just bought my own home. And even though we're in our current home, which was a very big financial goal for me, because in my divorce, there was at a point where I was back into my home. We had like this nesting arrangement where I wasn't able to live at home for, a period of time. So when I came back home, I had a money goal in order to give my kids a place to live. And I'm very proud to share that. So I guess my main gist is that I would want to put a lot so that other women wouldn't be in that scenario, and pass it to my daughter.
I love that. All right. So, Michelle, I'm going to ask you, and then Sarah, we're going to end with you and myself.
So the first thing I would do is buy my parents a house. They bought their house this year, but I feel like they settled. I can hear it in their voice when they said, like, we got the house, but it wasn't the one. You know what I mean? So I feel like they deserve their dream house. And then I would buy myself land and a house. And I would donate some of it to suicide prevention and mental health awareness. I feel like those two organizations hold such a close place to my heart. And I would probably also donate to the LGBTQ community, because I have a lot of personal connection with it, as well as friends and family who are part of the community who I feel like I should give back to, and the homeless community. So I have a lot of donations to be giving out. And I have a huge obsession with animals. As you can see, I have a cat sitting on my lap. So I want to do something for animals, and, just a lot of giving away money.
I feel like we as women, we do that a lot, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's what makes us really powerful, is that we're really about pouring back in. And Sarah, before I have you comment, I think one of the things I remember reading, and this was when I was studying about women in leadership, because I actually wanted to coach women in leadership. I'm really passionate. I think that in order for us to change as a global community, we need more women in leadership, because women are shown to be more diplomatic. We're more focused on the community. We're more focused on nurturing. I think there would be less wars, but I'm the optimistic kind. But that was one thing they said, that when there are more women in leadership, we pour more back into the community. We take what we are given and we amplify it and we pour it back in. So, I think that's one of the beautiful things about women. So, Sarah, if you got $1 million, yes, women rule. If you got $1 million, what would you do with it?
All right. So my next $1 million that I get, I would donate some to free all of the orcas that are in confinement right now. Orca is one of my spirit animals, and it just tortures my heart that any of them are in captivity. And I would definitely donate money toward clean water projects globally. So that would really align nicely for me. I would invest some of it in starting a retreat center. I would spend some on travel, of course, if I could, if any country will ever have us again. And I'd probably put away half of it and then also start a fund for my baby granddaughter that's going to be born in December. So, yeah.
Yay for babies. No more for
Yeah.
me, but I always love seeing other people have babies. Yay for babies. All right. So I already know what I would do with my $1 million. I would buy the other 23.8s, or I'm going to buy when I get my $1 million, because it's happening. I'm going to buy the 23.86 acres of land next to me, and I'm going to open a conscious life school. So I think the biggest part of shifting people is allowing people to recognize that they already have the power within themselves, but opening that possibility within themselves. So I already have it envisioned out what it looks like. It's going to be an eco-friendly, like, I could go on for days about what this is going to end up looking like. But it's going to be completely eco-friendly. It's going to be built into the land so as to respect the land and teach people how to do the same in the process. And it's going to bring people back to recognizing themselves as conscious creators on this planet and in the universe. So I would do that. And then I would focus on charities that really, really empower oppressed women in third world, just around the world, nationally and around the world globally. And I would also focus on the whole child trafficking thing and pouring into the organizations that actually go and take these children out of these situations. Because being a mom, and being a mom of especially like a daughter, that's a real reality to me when I have to sit there and watch people when you see the videos of them just coming up and like snatching these kids like right off the side of the road. My daughter's 14 and she's going to be an adult one day. And that part of that freaks me out a little bit, because it's like, you just never know. And you don't focus on that. But so for me, yeah, it's definitely making sure that pouring that money back into a way that's going to support the collective as a whole. I definitely make sure my house was paid off in the process. But the biggest part would be the retreat center and buying the land next to me. So, yeah, that's what I would do with my money. Very exciting. All right. So, ladies, we are at the end. And I would like you guys to take just one more moment and tell everybody about where they can connect with you. So, Sarah, I'm going to let you go, and then Margo and Michelle, and then we're going to end this. So, Sarah, if you will tell everybody about what is the best place to connect with you, because I hope you tell them about Quantum Shift, because they should all be there on your card draws like I am.
Yeah. So my coaching business page is Sarah Whalen Coaching on Facebook and sarahwhalencoach.com on the web. And yes, please, everybody, find Quantum Shift, and it's spelled SHYFT. My partner, Sharon Froshen, and I appear every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 p.m.-ish Eastern and do intuitive tarot and oracle card readings. They're free. We're just trying to help everybody through this crazy pandemic time. It's a lot of fun. We spend 3 hours each night reading cards, and it's just like it just pours out of my heart to be able to do that kind of stuff. And you can also find me on Etsy. I have a little shop on there, and it's called Quantum Shaman Life. So there, it's me.
All right, Margo, tell them where they can reach you.
So you can reach me, go to margomastery.com. It talks about how to coach with me if you're interested. It also talks about my speaking journey and a lot of my webinars that are out there. Also, to learn about my accounting business, you can go to margosbookkeeping.com. And it's a little bit of a long word, so it's a OOKKEEing.com. And I look forward to talking to you.
Awesome. All right, Michelle, take us away and let's end with you.
Awesome. So if you want to find out more about my services and my business, you can go to michellemontero.us. If you want to keep up with me on social, you can find me on Michelle Montero Marketing on both Facebook and Instagram.
All right, and you guys know how to get a hold of me. If you're watching this, you already know, because my loud mouth is everywhere. But you guys also please stay tuned as I continue to get ready to roll out this TV show, which is going to be syndicated globally. I'm very, very excited. Oh my God. I have a TV show. I'm like, I can't, Sarah, I sent that message out. I have a TV show. I'm buying a house. Look at me. What? So you guys, so just make sure you're paying attention. You're going to kind of see, not kind of, but you guys are going to see everything start transforming as far as how I operate things on social media and stuff like that. And getting there, it's happening. So you guys keep paying attention, keep staying with us, and pretty soon you're going to see how you can stay along with the TV show and be a part of that as this community continues to grow. I'm very excited to move the TUF Woman movement along on a global scale. Y'all gonna see me. I don't know if anybody here watches Step Brothers or is a Will Ferrell fan like I am, but that part where they're sitting in the office and she comes to get him for the interview and they're like, why are you to this? Well, we're here to fuck shit up. That's gonna be me. Okay, in a good way. In a good way. Okay. So you guys just stay tuned and please join us on Thursday for another amazing story. I'm really excited. I hate to say that you want to talk about a brain fart. I cannot remember who's coming on Thursday, but I know it's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. If you catch us on the replay, #replay. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. This was a really awesome conversation. I love this.
Thank you,
I'm
Ashley.
so happy. You are so welcome.
Thanks, Ashley.
I think it's really important to just keep having this and normalize having these conversations, especially as women. Like, we really have got to set the example of normalizing the conversation. So I'm very thankful for every woman that comes on here and joins me in normalizing these conversations. So, all right, you guys, see you guys Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have an awesome night, everybody.